Good morning, Digit fam. Adam Dowd here, closing out a week full of awesome technology. And speaking of awesome technology, a little personal news. I just got a hold of a BlackBerry Key 2 Red Edition, and this is by far the most elegant looking phone I have ever used. Speaking of used, it's been less than 24 hours, and I've already found some bugs, which is never a good sign. But for now, it is May 10th, 2019, and this is your Digit Daily. Google I.O. is over, as is the wait for Tristan to finally see Avengers Endgame. One of those is more significant than the other. I'll let you decide which is which. But for now, the hoopla is over, and we're left feeling a bit disappointed. I mean, there were plot holes, and the time travel thing doesn't really sit right with me, and we're supposed to be talking about Google I.O. Right. Still disappointed, but for different reasons. Let's be clear here. What we're reporting on isn't coming from I'm watching this from Berlin or Chicago's perspective. We're going by what's actually coming out from sources on the ground in San Francisco. Most notably, we harken back to the time when Sergey Brin introduced a gaggle of skydivers wearing Google Glass who landed on top of the Moscone Center. This year we had Sundar in a pullover. Not quite the same amount of pizzazz, with all due respect. But even from a nuts and bolts standpoint, in terms of workshops, if you stream the events online, you basically got just as much as the people attending in person, arguably even more. Sure, there were devs on hand to have one-on-one discussions, but anecdotally, it just seemed like there were fewer of them than usual. Also, coverage of the event was down. There were less live blogs, less news streaming out of the show. One big question from the software side, what's up with Google Duplex? I mean, last year, we saw Google's AI make a telephone call and have a conversation with a human to make a reservation at a restaurant, complete with vocal tics like oh and all that. This year, we got Form Autofill, which was invented about 6 days after HTTP://. I mean, that's not actually true, but you see my point. Form Autofill doesn't exactly have the sexy pizzazz of a feature to get excited about, and it's arguably just as creepy since in order to fill out those forms, it still needs to scan your email and your calendar. Not that that's inherently creepy, but the phrase privacy and security were uttered at least a dozen times during the keynote alone, and I won't even speculate how often people said privacy and security in breakout sessions or dev talks, probably slightly less often than the term AI, and we've already talked about how much Google loves talking about AI. But finally, we get to the Pixel 3a and the Pixel 3 Get in the Ring. Android Central has, well, they call it proof. I'd call it suggestively strong anecdotal evidence, but, tomato, tomato. They have proof that the hashtag gift from Google, aka the Pixel phones, were ready to go back in January or February and didn't get announced until May. And what's up with that? Google released a blog post about 100 things it announced at Google I.O., and 1/10 of those were hardware related to the Pixel 3a at a developers conference. It's just not knowing your audience, man. So, was Google I.O. a bust? Well, not really. It may have been bust adjacent. There were some really cool things announced there, but they weren't announced from 10,000 feet or however high you need to be to skydive. I've never done it. My point is, when you set a high bar, you're expected to clear it every year, and it doesn't really get higher than skydiving. But on the horizon, we have more events coming up. We've got WWDC, E3, probably a few other conventions made up of letters and numbers that I'm forgetting. But for now, we're going to head on over into the Roundup! Jeff Bezos can send you a yodeling pickle in 2 days. Well, now he can send a yodeling pickle to the moon on the ba-da-da-ba-da-dang-a-dang-dang blue moon robotic lander, which is scheduled to make one small step for robot, one giant leap for robot kind in 2024. This is all part of Bezos' Blue Origin company, not Amazon, BT dubs. Blue Origin also announced Club for the Future, a non-profit dedicated to K-12 students and educators focused on, quote, campaigns and initiatives utilizing Blue Origin's unique access to space. Their first project will be to send a postcard to space and have it returned, making it the very first space mail, which is one of those things that sounds a lot cooler because you put the word space in front of it, but it actually isn't. And because it involves space but not NASA, Elon Musk had to jump onto Twitter with a mocking image of Bezos' lander because Elon. This image depicted the Blue Moon lander with the word lander crossed out and the word balls written on it. And look, folks, I'm just as juvenile as the next guy. But this is amateur hour stuff. I'm going to expect more intellectual fart and dick jokes coming from Elon going forward. And for God's sakes, hire some intern to do a better Photoshop job, will ya? Speaking of privacy and security and Amazon, you know who doesn't give you privacy or security? Amazon. It turns out all those voice recordings that Amazon employees share with each other, you remember those? Well, you can delete those, but you know what you can't delete? The text transcriptions. So here's a little voice command 101 for you. When you talk to your assistant, whether it's Alexa or Siri or Google Assistant or Cortana, not that anybody ever talks to Cortana, the very first thing it does is transcribe that command to text. That's how the computer is actually able to receive the input. The transcription gets sent off to the cloud or wherever to be acted upon. And now we find out, you know what, I'll just read the email. Quote, when a customer deletes a voice recording, we also delete the corresponding text transcript associated with their account from our main Alexa systems and many subsystems, and have work underway to delete it from the remaining subsystems. FYI, when someone calls something a system, and especially a main system, that means they have no idea what the hell it is or what it's doing. Bottom line, when you delete a recording, Amazon can't hear it anymore, but it can still read it. And what the f***, Amazon? This next one is a twofer. Uber priced its IPO at $45 per share, and the good news is it raised $8.1 billion with a B dollars because of it. The bad news is that's less than what insider investors paid 3 years ago. In a related story, Uber set aside $146 million for settlements it reached with thousands of drivers in arbitration. So it forced arbitration to prevent a class action lawsuit, but then settled with thousands of drivers, and how is that better than settling a class action lawsuit? And finally, the world's first 3D printed village will go up in Latin America this summer, and holy crap, the future is awesome. Austin-based sustainable building startup Icon and housing charity New Story are teaming up to build a community of concrete printed houses in an undisclosed city in Latin America, and suddenly I kind of want to live in a 3D printed house. Do they have internet? Yeah, probably not. Anyway, these houses can be built in a day and feature an outdoor kitchen and area for keeping chickens and gardens, and God, that's adorable. But that's going to do it for today's Digit Daily. If you'd like to learn more about any of these stories, check out the links in the show notes and subscribe to our daily newsletter on Digit.com. And if you like what you heard, subscribe, leave a review, and don't forget to tell your friends about DigitDailyPod.com. Once again, I'm Adam Dowd, TED Technology on Twitter, and we'll talk again on Monday.